Woo-hoo. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Sales Podcast. We have episode 201. We're on to the next milestone. Again, appreciate everyone that helped out to support the first 200 episodes. And we're rolling. We're ready for the next 200. This is your host, Tom Alemo. They call me Tommy Tahoe. I create this show every single week, put in the hours to help young salespeople have more productive, more lucrative, more fulfilling careers, right? Get better at sales, get promoted, find more balance in their lives, career development, personal growth, all of that. So I'm here today with a great interview, short form, with my friend Christian Krause. Christian is an AE, a Switzerland AE for Salesforce account executive. That is, he just got promoted from a BDR to be an AE at the end of 2020. He's also got a great brand on LinkedIn, over 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. You've probably seen him around dropping knowledge about sales, about business development, about small businesses, about growing your personal brand, social selling, all these different topics that he covers on. And we had a great conversation. The one thing that I really took away, I loved his quote that, when people ask him why he puts things on LinkedIn, he says that, and I might be paraphrasing, that LinkedIn is the real estate for his credibility, right? If he reaches out to people on LinkedIn, the first thing that they're going to do is go look him up. And he uses that page as really his real estate for his credibility, which I'm not sure how he came up with that quote, but I love it. I'm going to steal it, and I appreciate him coming on. So we're going to get to him in 1 second. First, really quickly, if you are new to the show, thank you for listening. The one way that you can help support is to go to Apple Podcasts. It'll take you 60 seconds. You can pause right, after I say this, before we get into Christian. Go over there, hit subscribe, and go to rate the show. Give 5 stars. And that's what helps the show grow. It helps me get better guests. It helps me put out better content for you. It's all about the ratings and reviews. And, I put dozens of hours a week into this, probably a dozen hours a week into this podcast, early morning, late night, weekends, so on and so forth. So that's the one way you can help. And otherwise, just share it with a friend. If you like this, you can share it with your friends, with your colleagues on social media. I am Tommy Tahoe on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Tom Alemo on LinkedIn. Hit me up. I'd love to hear your feedback of the show. I'd love to connect with you. Without further ado, let me get into my conversation with Christian Krause. Let's go. All right, Christian Krause, welcome to Millennial Sales. How you doing, man?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me. Big honor to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Are you out in Dublin right now, you were saying?
Yes, I'm in Dublin, Ireland. It's about 4 in the afternoon. It's gray, rainy, cold. The best of Ireland.
Yeah. I don't know if I've had a European guest in my 3.5 years. So you could be the first. And I went to Ireland a few years ago. Loved Dublin, loved Galway. I'm half Irish, or my family is. So it was one of the best trips I've ever taken was going to Ireland.
That's awesome. Well, honored to be the first European. And yeah, Ireland is a great place. I've been here for 2 years. I'm very happy here with my girlfriend, who's from the US, ironically. But yeah, good place to be.
And congrats. We are just saying this before the show, but congrats on the promotion. Christian is now an AE. He grinded it out as an SDR at Salesforce during the pandemic year and pushed through to get to AE. So big congratulations to you. I know a lot of people that work at Salesforce in the States, and getting promoted there and working up the chain. Not that it's easy anywhere, but it's not easy there. It's so competitive, and there's so much going on. So congrats to you for that.
Thanks so much. Yeah. So that was definitely a big challenge, but I made it happen. And I think we're going to talk about a few of the principles today that helped me along the way. Salesforce is a great place to be, but yeah, it's one of the biggest SaaS sales engines out there, and I'm just a small part of it.
Yeah, there's I'm sure a ton of competition. And so do you handle all of EMEA, or do you only sell to other people in Ireland, or how does your territory work out?
So my territory is actually Switzerland. I am in the
Okay.
ESMB segment of Switzerland. So I work with clients of company headcount size 1 to 10. So really the startups, the small family-owned freelancers,
Hmm.
companies in Switzerland.
Let me just ask this: how many languages do you speak? Because I know I think you're German, right? Or at least your name is.
Yes.
And you're covering a Swiss territory. I gotta
Yes.
guess you can speak 3 or 4 languages.
So I would say three. So German obviously is my native tongue. English is my second language. I do speak conversational French. However, don't challenge me on that. French people speak really fast, and but I know that I was traveling in Latin America a few years ago, and I had conversations with French people. It kind of works. But on my bucket list is Spanish. So Spanish is the big one. It opens up all of Latin America. That's the next one on my list, hopefully soon.
Man, well, how do you? Well, I guess you probably learned German and English as a kid, right? Both of them. So I always feel like such an idiot that I only know my own language and I don't even speak English or write English that well. So, we'll get to sales in a second, but
Yeah.
do you have a tip for that? Would you, if you were going to learn Spanish, would you use like Duolingo or something? Would you hire someone? Would you go to a class? Like, how would you do it?
Hmm. So I tried Duolingo. So I traveled in Colombia for 3 months in 2015. And as a preparation for that, I did 30 minutes of Duolingo in the morning for about 3 months before that. And Duolingo only gives you vocabulary. It doesn't really teach you how to produce full sentences and understand what other people are saying. So I recommend, if you can, take classes. Go to your local language school on a Wednesday evening for an hour and talk to other people. That's the only way. The best way is to move to the country, obviously, if you can. But I'd say in-person classes is
Yeah.
what you need.
Yeah, I tried to do Duolingo for Italian before I went to Italy, and I had some words, and then once someone said something back to me, I was lost. So I figured, but anyways, for what people really want to learn about on this podcast is about how you've been successful in sales, how you got that promotion, and what's going to really spawn a great 2021 for you as an AE. And I thought a great place to start would be, you put out a great post. I think it was last week or even over the weekend of kind of the top 10 tips that you would give yourself in retrospect to a younger version of yourself. So I'd love maybe if you pick a few of those to talk through and what some of those tips would be.
Sure, yeah. So let's start with number one. So number one is start building a brand. 2020 was a disruptive year in many ways. But for me personally, building the brand really made a difference because all of a sudden, you're not in the office anymore. You're not on the floor anymore with all the SDRs who are smiling and dialing, pumping each other up. You're kind of stuck in your own apartment. And I had to kind of find a place to unfold and to express myself. And LinkedIn was really the channel for that. And I had actually the first person I was following was Colin Catmus, and he was already big. His brand was already big in 2019, and I was following him, and I was like, one day I'll do the same. But then when COVID hit, I was really like, I shouldn't wait. Like I can start building a brand now, and even if I'm just two and a half years out of college, I have knowledge that I can share with others that others can benefit. So I'd say that's my first tip to all young sales professionals out there. Just put yourself out there on LinkedIn and build that brand and show up every day.
Is there anyone else that you follow that you've kind of used as a guideline for you outside of Colin and as you've continued to grow? Because now you're not someone that doesn't have, any brand. You've got a good brand built up. So maybe you're looking at different people for benchmarks. I'm curious if there's anyone else that you follow, you recommend other people follow.
Big time. So Colin was the first. Close second is Justin Welsh.
Love
I'm
Justin.
just before talking. I started his new course that he put on Gumroad, Idea Audience Proof Product. So I'm a big student of his and how he basically builds a new lifestyle for himself. It's something that also steers me into the world of side hustles, let's say. So you have a side hustle by putting out this podcast and then also building a brand, but I'm tipping my toes a little bit now into, how can I scale my knowledge and my experience for other salespeople, for other SDRs, AEs online. So Justin is a great one. I also want to mention Daniel Murray. Daniel has been fantastic by establishing his own style of posts, very short snippets, but has been extremely successful and consistent. And I think he has a podcast now himself, so he's also doing great. So those are the three big ones for me, I'd say.
I love it. And has your brand helped you, and was it helping at all in your conversations as an SDR? I know that there's this huge benefit of building a brand that, yeah, it can help you, to potentially create products, have side revenue, get a new job, etc. There's a long list, but how about for your actual day-to-day job? Was it helpful in having conversations with prospects, or was that really not
Mm-hmm.
the target demographic for you?
Mm-hmm. So I get this question all the time because now SDRs and BDRs, they want to know like, hey, did this actually help you get more ups? So more ups and more pipeline. And the first thing that I say is no. And I say no because I want to set this expectation of, hey, just because you start posting every day doesn't mean that leads flood in. It's not that simple. However, I do believe that if I reach out to a prospect on LinkedIn via Sales Navigator, the first thing that they do is they look on my profile. So my profile is really the real estate for my own credibility. So if they see that, okay, this is someone who has maybe 5K or 10K followers, someone who is putting out content consistently, gets a lot of engagement, is considered a thought leader, then I believe I have a higher chance that this prospect might connect with me, might have a good conversation with him. It turns out to be a better phone conversation and so on. People really challenge me and they want to hear the ROI. And I do believe, like, I'm trying to come up with a way to measure it as an AE. But for instance, just as an example of that, now I'm in the SMB segment. So there's a lot of very small companies in Switzerland that are looking into Salesforce or that are looking into a CRM. Kind of as a complementary service of just selling my own software, I can say, hey, by the way, I can give you tips on how to build your company brand on LinkedIn. So this is also something where I can differentiate myself a little bit now as an AE.
How about that quote that I need to write that down, that LinkedIn is the real estate for your credibility? I had
Mm-hmm.
never heard that before. And I think that's so true, right? Just as you're a salesperson looking someone up before you call them, before you get on a meeting, they're doing the same for you. If they get an email from you, or they get an introduction, or they're going to hop on a call with you, they're going to check you out. And so, it doesn't mean you have to have 10,000 followers on LinkedIn to be impressive, but at least have, the fundamentals down, a good picture, the headline, if they do see that you are posting and you're posting intelligent things, that just only adds credibility, especially when you're a young seller like we are in our 20s, where it's tough to build credibility when you don't have decades of experience. So I love that tip. What's
Mm-hmm.
another one for us?
Yeah. My number two would be take ownership of your own personal development or your own development in general. When I joined Salesforce as an SDR and a BDR, we did get a lot of training. Like we got the Sandler training, we got the JB Sales training. Now that everything is remote and online, there is still training and enablement, but it's much tougher to really get into the trenches. I mean, I actually did a training with Morgan J. Ingram from JB Sales, and I did that remotely, and he did a phenomenal job. Like that was the best remote sales training I've ever had. But it's just hard to keep up if you cannot just walk over to the top performer. Because that's how I learned everything in sales in the beginning. I just walked over to the top guy, the top gal, looked them over the shoulder and asked, like, how do you do this? Like, how do you crush your number? That's how I used to learn everything. And now it's just so much harder. So to combat that, I invest time in myself. So it starts with podcasts. Your podcast is great. JB Sales podcast. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to mention all of them. Books. I throw myself into books. I try to make a habit of reading every night before bed. Another thing is, online courses. So JB Sales now has streaming service. There's Udemy. You can join Katie Dorsey in his Patreon group. There's so many different ways. And I mean, luckily, Salesforce gives us reimbursement for those kind of things. And I think Other companies do as well, but even if they don't, I mean, these days it's affordable to also invest in yourself. And everything, Tom, like everything is moving so fast. Like LinkedIn was the next best thing. Now we have video, we have all these tools like Lead IQ, Zoom Info, Lucia, you name it, Octopus CRM, and it's hard to kind of keep up with how fast tech is moving.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. And, all that stuff that you were saying before, I'm a subscriber to the JB Sales online training, done to some of their things in person before COVID. Kevin Dorsey's Patreon, I listen to podcasts, reading books. I'm in the same camp. I made a rule for myself a couple years ago to try to do one learning event, and this was what in-person events, per quarter. So whether that was going to Dreamforce and like going to some certain sessions, or another sales conference, or I did a Tony Robbins event, or I took an online course from somewhere, from Udemy or somewhere like that, to try to keep the information going. And it depends on what you're focused on at the time. Just like what you're saying with Justin Welsh's course, like that's another investment in yourself. You're paying for that, and that makes you take it more seriously and take action on it. So I could not agree more. If you're waiting for your company to develop you, then you're going to be waiting for a really long time, maybe forever, right? You got to take the reins on that, especially early on in your career.
Yeah, 100%. The next one would be, and also again, it relates to the remote environment, join a sales community. Now, the prime example is, Ref Genius. Jared has built something from scratch, something incredible. I don't know how many thousand members we now have, 8,000 or probably 10K soon, within a couple months. But communities like that are online, that are now moving to places like, Clubhouse, which is an awesome place to just hang out with people and talk, to further develop yourself and learn from the experience of others, but also socialize. Like, we're social animals. And I mean, here in Dublin, besides my girlfriend, I'm seeing no one. So I really need salespeople around me to feel that kind of energy from them. I can't get it from the floor because I'm not on the floor. So joining a sales community, Ref Genius is one. The Paul Salamanca Top Percenter Club, Top 1% Club is one. There's also smaller groups, but look out for those, I'd say, to get inspiration, drive.
I love it. And maybe we can wrap on this point too, but could you just give me an example of, let's say you're part of Rev Genius, right? It's a great group, like you're saying, 8,000 people, an ongoing Slack channel, a lot of events, a lot of different people. How do you make the most out of that? And because that could be your full-time job, is just talking to people all day. So how do you make the most of joining a group like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, with Ref Genius, you can schedule your own hangout sessions or your own fireside chat. So you basically, in the Slack channel of 8,000 people, you just scream out like, hey, who wants to talk on Thursday night about video prospecting? You'll see hundreds of people raising their hand, and there you have your own session that you just organize. It is very simple, actually, like shockingly simple. Now, I do have a case sometimes of sheer overwhelmment. Like, now we have Clubhouse, there's Ref Genius, there's LinkedIn. I started tweeting. There's just so much stuff going on. You have to decide where to spend your time. But go join Ref Genius, find a subject you want to talk about, see who's interested, and you'll have a small crowd of people who will instantly jump on it because everyone is sitting at home.
Totally. Yeah, you got to make those groups work for you. Or, even schedule time out and say, hey, here's my hour, or my 30 minutes, or my whatever amount of time that I'm going to spend engaging with people on LinkedIn. I'm going to hit up someone for Rev Genius. I'm going to do this event, on Wednesday night or whatever it might be, and try to book that into your day. Because to your point, it can get overwhelming, with Clubhouse, and who knows what Twitter, and who knows what the next app will be. So I think that's great, man. I appreciate those top 3 tips of, building out the personal brand, owning your own self-development, and then leveraging groups and communities to help level up your game. I subscribe to all 3 of those, completely agree. Do you have any other, kind of parting words for the listeners here? And then also, because we're building up your brand, let us know where we can reach you, where listeners can hit you up if they listen to this episode.
Sure. Yeah. So closing remarks. I think it's very important in sales to be kind to yourself. Give your body and mind what it needs, be that meditation, exercise, breaking a sweat every day, going for walks, cooking your own good food, quality time with your spouse or girlfriend. It's very important in sales to recharge. It's very easy to burn out. So closing remarks, be kind to yourself. Go find me on LinkedIn, Christian Krause. I think you're probably gonna put the link somewhere. I'm definitely putting this podcast into the featured section of my profile so that everybody sees it. Check me out if you want on Twitter. I have a little baby account with I think 28 followers at this point. So that's at Chris. Is it actually at ChrisBits92? See, I have to think about my own name there. So yeah, hit me up there, and I'd say that's it.
I appreciate it, man. Hashtag Chris Bits.
ChrisBits, that's what it is. Hashtag ChrisBits. If you want to
And
follow my hashtag on LinkedIn, you can do that as well.
yeah, please, everyone. If you're building out a brand, if you're in the sales game, Christian's a great person to follow. So definitely hit him up on LinkedIn. I will put the link, although you can type in his name into the search. I'll put his link in the show notes for anyone to check out. Christian, appreciate you joining the show, and cheers to a massive 2021 ahead for you. Can't wait to see what you got in store.
Same for you, Tom. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you so much for checking out that podcast. I hope you saw value, whether you're working out right now or doing the dishes or laying around the couch, whatever you're doing right now while you're listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some value. If you did, the only thing that you can do to really help me out is to share this podcast with a friend, share it on social media, and please subscribe wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever it is, and leave a review on Apple if that's where you're listening. That's what helps us to spread reach, helps us to get better guests like the one that you heard just now, and to give you as much value as possible. So connect with me, LinkedIn, Tom Alemo, Instagram, Twitter, Tommy Tahoe, and subscribe, leave a review, and make it a great day. Peace. Thank you so much.